I'm recording. So welcome back, everybody, from your boring spring break. I hope it was boring. I hope everybody stayed home. Here's Biostats. So I hope everyone is staying safe and not too depressed. I think it's just really hard to not be a little bummed out by being stuck at home this long. We're not meant to be like this, but like we were talking about before everybody got in here, like I keep thinking in the next week as being very critical that everybody stay home and kind of be distant. So I hope everyone's thinking that way too. That said, I did not get the quizzes graded over spring break. I kind of needed some time away from my computer as well. This transition is crazy on my end, and I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys good assignments and stuff. And it was really causing me a lot of stress. So I took a few days off during spring break and then didn't have time to finish grading all the quizzes, but I'll have them done by Thursday, so you'll know what your grades are then. I wanted to share one thing with you since I haven't left my neighborhood that I found this. We were doing yard work over the weekend, and I found that I have a den of garter snakes living in my yard. So on the next slide, there's going to be some really cute snake pictures. But if you hate snakes, just close your eyes for a little bit. But these are like little baby tiny garter snakes, and they're cutest things in the world. So they were very friendly, I think, because it was a little chilly on Saturday morning. And so I got some really good pictures. So I found one first and then realized that there was like a little hole in the ground. And this is apparently where their den is. So then there's like 5 or 6 of them that live in this little hole. And so then found out where the hole was in the yard. So now I've created like a crazy snake lady habitat for them, where I've kind of covered up the hole, and now there's actually like an old fire pit on top of it so that they have cover and stuff. So I feel like I'm going insane by this, but it brings me a lot of joy to go out and check on my neighborhood snakes every morning and evening. So that's my big update of what's going on around here. There's a lot of good birds too, but I don't have any pictures of them, so I'm going to talk about that. So that's where I'm at. Hope that makes you feel less crazy because I've adopted neighborhood snakes. But as for biostats, I hope you got an email about how we're changing grading structures, right? So I wanted to make sure we talked about that for a second. So now you're going to have this option. First of all, the option is still on the table that you can withdraw if you can't deal with any of this. If too much personal stuff is going on and you just don't want to keep track of classes anymore, there is an option to withdraw. They extended that deadline. Or we decided that all E&V classes, or you can have the option of switching to this FDS grading structure. So for us, it's really easy to track your grade because what your grade is in Moodle is the grade that you have. So you should be able to see what grade you're at. And especially once I get that 3rd quiz posted, you should have a really good idea of where you're at. So this FDS grading structure, if you didn't understand it, basically if you get an S, that means that you got a 70 or above, and it goes on your transcript as an S, and then it doesn't count into your GPA requirement. So basically, if you're someone who normally gets an A and you're worried that if you get a C in this class, it's going to drag down your GPA, you have this option of switching to the structure where it won't get calculated into your GPA and it won't drag down your GPA, but you'll get credit for the class by the end. But if you switch to this structure, you can still fail the class. So the fact that they kept F and D in there means that if you get a D, which in this class is going to be between a 60 and a 70% in your overall grades, that grade will calculate into your GPA. And then if you get it, if you get a D, it'll calculate into your GPA, but you'll get credit for the class. If you get an F, it'll calculate into your GPA and you won't get credit for the class. So a lot of you guys are in this class because it's a requirement for your major. So you need to make sure you're at least hitting that D threshold to get credit. So you have to opt into this for this class. It's an option, but you need to choose to do that. And so if you don't do anything, you're going to continue with the regular letter grading structure. Andre, what's your question?
I'm just confused. So the F, D, and S grading structure, that's only if you drop the class.
No. So there's 3 options basically here. You can withdraw from the class, you can choose to go to the FDS grading structure, or you can do nothing and keep with the letter grade normal
Okay.
structure.
All right.
So you have to opt into that other one. I think, go ahead, Kira, what's your question?
Is there like a due date for this? Like when we have to decide for it?
Yes, end of next week, I believe. So advising week is going to be next week. So they put end of next week so that everybody could have time to talk to their advisors about what they need to do. The important thing is also, if you're considering this, that financial aid might be influenced by switching to this other grading structure. So you need to check with the financial aid office to make sure you won't lose a scholarship or something if you go, because it's like a modified pass-fail option, which we normally let you guys consider pass-fail for some classes early in the semester, but we usually don't have them for something that's for credit class or a requirement of a major. So you have that option now. So yeah, end of next week. I think it's the 17th that you get to decide. So basically, if you don't do anything, you're going to continue with the letter grading structure, and the Moodle grade that you see is the grade you're going to get at the end of the semester. I kind of modified these down a little bit from what I normally do. So an F is less than 60%, a D is 60 to 70, C is 70 to 80, B is 80 to 90. So with this, you can still, if you are feeling really strong, you could use this semester to boost your GPA to get a really good grade, which is why I was happy. Some of my friends who are teaching at other schools, their schools went to mandatory pass-fail this semester, which means that you couldn't boost your GPA because you're not allowed to get an A in a class anymore. You can only pass or fail. So I'm really happy with what Purchase did, that you guys have this flexibility. So if you were feeling really strong in this class and feel like your technology is on board and you're feeling like, okay, I might as well learn biostats if I'm not doing anything else, you should just stick with the letter grading structure in my mind, because there's a chance you're going to, get a really good grade and it'll help your overall GPA. Any other questions about that? I can see the chat too if anybody wants to.
And we'll have the quizzes graded like well before that. Like day okay.
Yeah.
Thank
So I'll probably get them done tomorrow, but definitely by Thursday, and then you have like another week after that to decide. This might help you too. So I'm changing the structure from the original syllabus, just to make it really clear what's going to be due for the rest of the semester, so you can kind of assess what's going on. So from now on, we're going to have labs due every Friday. So there's going to be 5 labs from now to the end of the semester, because now we're switching into doing all R coding and kind of working with the statistical tests that you've learned. Zach, go ahead. What's your question?
I'm sorry if you're going to get to this, but are you going to like post directions for us to download like ourselves, or is it like something that anyone can just download?
I'm going to get to that. We're actually going to switch to R is always free, so you can download it to your computer for free at any point. It's open source. But I took a webinar on how to use their like browser-based version, and we're going to use that because that allows it to work on any computer no matter what, because you're not confined. You can do it just in your browser. So we'll get to that. We will.
Okay, thanks.
But I'm hoping, besides a little bit of a learning curve for that, because I haven't used it before in terms of how I moderate it, I think that's going to help things out a lot in doing these labs, because you can do it on any computer and it kind of saves in the internet. So what these labs will be like so if you were on campus, what we'd be doing is having a short introduction and then mostly working on labs, and me and Jermaine would be there to answer questions and stuff. The reason I like this online version is that I can go in and look at what you're doing remotely, so I can look in on the R code that you're doing, so if you need help that way. And we can use Zoom to share your screen if you're stuck on something. So we're going to try to make it feel similar to what you would feel like if we're all working in the computer lab, but it's obviously going to be weird because we're not all in the same room together. Which is why I kind of split it up. Last year, we did like a big project, and instead of calling this a big project at the end, I'm just going to have everything in these 5 labs, so in modules, so that you can kind of feel like this is what I need to do this week, and then I move on, because I felt like it was too hard to give you guys a huge project to do when I'm not there to help you every day with it. So originally there was a final project. Now it's just going to be kind of rolled into lab 4 and 5. So now what you have to do this semester for this class are these 5 labs. That's what you need to keep track of. They're going to be potentially kind of long for you because coding in the beginning is really hard. And it might take a little bit of thought, especially when you're refreshing your brain about the tests. So you're gonna have to go back to your original PowerPoints and notes about the different tests and hypothesis testing, and then do the R coding. So it's not that these are short things in my mind, especially if you haven't done coding before, but at least they are contained. So each lab is its own thing. There will be directions for it, and then you hand that in and get some feedback, and then do the next week's one. So any questions about that? Okay, so that's kind of the overview. I'll answer any questions on email or anything that you have. If you're considering that other grading structure, make sure you talk to your advisor and the financial aid office and make sure you kind of know what you're up against before you make your decision. And now we're going to talk about R in general, which will hopefully answer some more questions for you. I just want to say off the bat, like, you're going to be super frustrated in the beginning of this if you haven't done a lot of computer coding in your life, which I learned R with having no computer coding background. So it's totally possible, but you're going to hate it for the beginning. And I wish I could have some people from last year to kind of talk about how much they hated it and how much they thought it was cool what they learned by the end, because that's what everyone feels. The first time you try to do it, you're like, this is ridiculous, I can't do this. And then once you start learning it, making graphs can be really fun because you can make them look really pretty. And then actually getting the statistical stuff out, you're like, oh, this is what we learned, and now I'm actually getting to do it. And you'll be able to use this in your career. Like, that's why for E&V majors, we make you take this class, and Bio recommends it. But yeah, one does not simply learn R statistics in one afternoon. It's a process. So we're going to try to start really slowly and then keep building on it. So why learn R at all? First of all, it's free. So it started out as a free open source software, kind of to rival some really expensive statistical softwares that were out there at the time. And luckily, even just since I started my career, it's really taken off and gotten a lot more user friendly. So when I started, I used to have to pay like $100 or up to $1,000 for a license for a computer software. And now I have this amazing program that's free, and all of you can download it to your computers for free. So that's the best part of it. It's also super flexible. So you can actually do things like GIS and spatial mapping in it. And then we're going to use it primarily for stats. But there's all sorts of next level stuff that you can do in this once you know the basics of coding. And so that said, you can really grow into this program. So we're going to go really basic with the programming right now. But once you know that basic coding, it's really easy to keep building on it, so that if you know how to do the basic programming language, then you can start doing more complex things. And people are looking for this in terms of jobs now, because a lot of, I have to say, older generation folks never learn this. And so it's kind of the young generation that if you come into a job being like, yeah, I can do R, you're potentially going to have somebody be like, wow, okay, cool, I don't know how to do that. I want somebody in there. And you're going to appear super smart, even though once you learn it, you're like, this is pretty easy. I just know a lot of people, even my PhD advisor, who wasn't that much older than me, didn't know how to use it, and he never had the time to learn. So he just kept using his expensive software. So that's kind of my rationale for why we're doing this. And it's definitely the preferred program for science. So like, I talk a lot about learning the language of science writing. This is the language in how we do analysis and statistics in science. So I'm happy we have to learn it in this class. So just some crazy visualizations that you can do. So I hope most of you are familiar with the type of stuff that graphs that Excel can make, but R kind of takes you to the next level, that you can make like 3D plots like this. It can do mapping. So the same way ArcGIS can do mapping, R can map things for you. we're going to be doing more simple plots like this, but a box plot with different colors. That's kind of a nice, easy thing to do. And so this is what I was kind of explaining before. So there's 3 things that you need to know about this kind of software. So R is kind of the base software. It started out being called Project R. It was like this tech computer savvy group of people a long time, well, I don't know how long ago actually, but they created this software. So the software itself that runs all these functions and things is called R. We are going to use something called RStudio, which is basically a wrapper for the program R that makes it easier to stay organized with R. So instead of like the basic coding stuff, we kind of have this nice user-friendly wrapper for it. So last year, everybody did all their analysis in RStudio, which we had on all the computer lab computers, and you can download it for free onto your computer. But this year, what I want everyone to use is RStudioCloud. So this is the same exact thing. So it runs R the same way. It looks exactly like R, but it lives in your browser. So it'll be easy to transfer this knowledge later to just using R and RStudio on a computer if that's what you have. But for this year, I want everyone to be in the cloud so that I can keep track of what's going on. So I can actually peek in on your code and see what you're doing. So for this, you don't need to download anything. It works on any computer. We were running into issues that R didn't work on Chromebooks, I think, but this won't be an issue for this because it's in your browser. So it allows me to see what you're working on. You don't have to download anything. It's all good. So what it kind of looks like once we get in there is like this. So the, let me get my spotlight. So this part is what would look like on a regular computer. This is kind of the new cloud part by it living in your browser. But what this is basically 4 panels here that you're going to have to know what they do. So the first panel is your script window or your code editor. This is what you can kind of save and keep track of what you're trying to code in over here. The top right is your workspace and history. So this is what you're working with at that moment. Your R console is where the script actually runs. So this is like kind of like the computer doing its work. And then over here, plots and files and help kind of live in this 4th corner. So just knowing what these all are is kind of nice, but you kind of have to see it in action to really understand what's going on. So learning to code. There's lots and lots of help out there for you, but I guarantee you will be frustrated. I love these pictures. I don't know what the woman's doing that's eating her computer. It can be really frustrating in the beginning, like I said, but I think if you start by just trying to absorb the info and then spend time working on your own, that would be really helpful. So I was trying to envision what you guys are seeing, and I think it will be hard to split between your actual RStudio console and Zoom. So what I'm going to do is kind of go through everything that I want to show you on Zoom and then let you guys have the rest of the time to kind of work on your own, and I'll be here to answer questions. So try to just like absorb this, and then there's going to be step-by-step directions that you can go through and try to figure out on your own. So what you're going to do is I sent you a link on Moodle yesterday. It's linked at the bottom of Moodle right now, and you're going to go make an RStudio account. You can use your Gmail or any personal email address that you want. I just want to make sure that you have your name associated with it. And then I'll show you what it kind of looks like once we go in there. Okay, so this is kind of what RStudioCloud looks like. What I want to go over first before we get into kind of the nitty gritty of this, and a whole bunch of people logged in, so that's great. So you guys can do that in a second. What I want to do is show you a couple of the primers that they have here, because they're a pretty good overview of what's going on. So we're going to go to programming basics, and you guys can rewatch these at some point if you want to, but I'm going to just show kind of the ones that I think are perfect. So you guys can see this video, right? Yeah, okay. You can see functions. Hold on, I'm going to stop sharing for a second because I want to make sure you can hear it.
To make something happen in R,
Hear that?
you call a function. For example, we can call the factorial function to compute the factorial of 4. Most functions produce a result like we see here, but some functions are designed to trigger side effects in the background. As a new R user, you should know how to do 3 things with a function. First, you should know that if you type the name of a function by itself, R will return the code that is stored in the function. This is the code that R runs when you call the function. The code may not mean anything to you now, but it can be useful down the road. Second, you should know that to run a function, you must do more than type its name. You must place a pair of parentheses behind the function name. If the function requires any input to do its job, you place the input between the parentheses, like the number 3 here. Finally, you should know that if you put a question mark in front of the function name and click Run, R will open a help page for the function. This is the best way to learn about how the function works. Notice that you do not include parentheses when you open a help page.
Okay, so that was the first one. You guys can hear me too? Okay, good. So functions, that was our first thing that we're going to do. It's going to make sense. That's kind of how you would run something. So the most simple function is like 2 plus 2. You can do all sorts of basic calculations on there. Or there's like the pre-programmed functions, which is what they were showing there, which was like showing factorial. You can take a log of something. You can do an average of something, all those things. That kind of think of the function as what maybe you would normally type into an Excel formula. That's kind of a function, and they're pre-canned into R. The nice part about R is that every human who knows how to code can make new functions and do things and develop it, which can't happen in Excel. So the next one I want to show you is the objects one.
So far, we've been happy to run functions and then read the results on the screen. If you'd like to use those results later, you'll need to save them. In R, you save results by creating an object. To create an object, type a name for the object, and then use the assignment operator to store a value in the object. The operator is a less than sign followed by a minus sign. The result looks like an arrow, which is a helpful visual mnemonic. R will store whatever appears on the right of the arrow into the object that appears on the left. You can save individual values, or you can directly save the results of a function. Whenever you call an object, R will replace the object with the value assigned to the object when R executes the code. This makes it easy to pass results to new functions or to see the contents of an object. To do that, just call the object name by itself. If you assign a value to an object that already exists, R won't hesitate to overwrite the old value. So be careful when you choose your object names.
Okay, so that was objects. So you have a function, which is kind of your formula. Your object is kind of storing a value into R so that you can kind of manipulate it in the future. Then we're going to go over some types.
R recognizes different types of vectors based on clues in your values. For example, if your values are all numbers, R knows that the vector is numeric and R can do math with it. If your values are surrounded by quotation marks, R knows that the vector contains character strings and R can do things like count the number of characters in each string. By recognizing what type of data you're using, R can behave more intuitively. Altogether, R recognizes 6 different types of data. You can check the type of a vector with type of. Numeric vectors contain numbers and possibly decimal points and negative signs. They have the type double, which is a computer science term that R associates with decimal numbers. Character vectors contain values surrounded by quotation marks. Integer vectors contain integers followed by a capital L. Logical vectors contain only trues and falses written in all capital letters. R also recognizes complex vectors and raw vectors, but we won't cover these because you are unlikely to encounter them while doing data science. It is helpful to know that each vector in R can only contain one type of data. If you try to combine types within a single vector, R will collapse everything to the same type, often a character vector. If you want to save different types of values in the same object, you'll need to use a list, which is a data structure that we'll look at in the next video. Later, you'll learn about other classes of data that are built on top of R's basic types. R developers have come up with ingenious ways to use the 6 basic types to represent other classes of data, like dates and times and factors. But for now, it's important to realize that every value in R is based on a double, character, integer, logical, complex, or raw vector.
Okay, so my question for you is, what they were talking about is that the data that lives in R can be different types. And this is kind of relating to the different types of data that we talked about in the beginning and the levels of measurement. So it's really important that if you have character data, so they kind of showed it like apple, banana, that type of stuff, which level of measurement is that probably? Who remembers the levels of measurement? Andre, you remember?
That's oh wait. Not there's
There's kind of 2 ways to put it.
wait no R.
Yes.
Not numerical. Wait.
You're so close. Yeah, it's not numerical though, because it's character. It's the N. It's the N one.
Oh, okay. Oh, not nominal.
Nominal. Yeah. So nominal, which is also categorical, is like the classification of it. So that's kind of why we spent so much time on those levels of measurement, is that they're all going to come back now, because we have to actually make sure we're working with the right type of data in R. So then they talked about double and different things. Those are all numbers. So they have like double and then integers. So like that's kind of a discrete number versus a continuous number. That's kind of what we're talking about here. Any questions about that? Okay. So now I just want to show you the last one, which is on packages, and then we'll get into the package that I want you to use for today.
R contains tens of thousands of functions, objects, and help pages. To save memory, R does not load every function or object or help page every time you start R. Instead, R loads only a core set of functions and objects known as base R. Other functions and objects are stored in collections known as packages. When you want to use these functions, you must first load the package they come in with the library function. For example, the ggplot function comes in the ggplot2 package. If I try to use ggplot before I load the ggplot2 package, R returns an error message. Could not find function ggplot. Once I load the ggplot2 package, R can find the ggplot function, and I can begin using it. If you're using R locally on your computer, you must download each package that you want to use, just as you need to download R. You can use R to download the packages by running install.packages at the command line. Give install.packages the names of the packages that you wish to download as a character vector, and R will take care of the rest. R downloads and installs the packages for you. You don't need to worry about installing packages in these tutorials. We've already installed everything you'll need. In most cases, we've also already loaded the packages that you will use with library. Still, it is important to understand how R's package system works.
Okay, so ignore what he said at the end. That's if you're going through his things. You're going to have to install your own packages. So there's functions, which are kind of like the formulas in Excel. There's types of data, and then there's these packages, which kind of do higher level stuff. And so the ggplot one that he talked about, that's one we're going to use. That's like a graphing package. Today, you're going to work with basically a package that holds data sets so that you can basically, like someone's created this package. When you load it into your R, now you can get at all these different data sets that we're going to work with. So let me stop this. All right, give me 1 second. So I see a few of you guys are on here, but the first thing, so what you're going to do today is kind of work through, I've started putting everything in Google Docs because what I've found is that every once in a while I'll have something wrong and I want to be able to change it in real time. So there's a link to a Google Doc, which is going to be kind of how you go through and do the lab for today, which you don't even have to hand anything in today. I just want to see that you guys all work through it. But now I'm going to share kind of my code here. Make sure I'm doing this right. Okay, so now you can hopefully see my, oh God, so annoying. Okay, so now you can see my RStudio, right? Maybe? Yeah, okay. So this is kind of the practice for today. So he talked about, first of all, when you open this, it's gonna tell you which version of R you're running. So what you're gonna do first is kind of open a new file here, open a new R script, and have this like nice blank thing. This corner up here is where you write all of your code. So the first thing that I want you to do is you're going to install a package, and I'm going to have you do it a slightly different way than how he kind of explained it using code. So there's actually a drop-down menu that can help with this. So we're going to do tools, install packages, and the package I want you to install is called Sleuth. That's not how you spell it though, Sleuth 3. And so it starts populating in here. We're going to do Sleuth 3, install. So I already did this, so I'm just going to cancel. So you just run through that, and you'd want this code to pop up here that kind of shows that you did it. And then the code to keep Sleuth 3 in here is just require. So now I'm saying, okay, I installed Sleuth 3. Now I want to actually tell you to look for it. And what you want to see is when you, up here, you write it up here, and then you hit either run. So you can hit this, and you're going to see it pop down here. On your computer, you can also hit Control Enter, and that's also going to run it down here. But each time you try to run your code up here, you want to see it pop down here with no error messages. So you see it up here, and you see it kind of go down here. This is what's happening kind of behind the scenes. What you're going to do now is actually kind of look at what's in here. So if you go into packages over here, we can see, actually look for the Sleuth 3 package and open it. And what this is, it's a bunch of data sets, right? So we've been talking about throughout class the Galapagos finch data, remember from when we saw each other in person? That data is held in here. So it's case 0201, and you can click on it over here and actually see information about the data that was collected, what the data frame is holding. And so what you need to do is actually pull that data into your R here. So I'm gonna type, basically going to make an object, if you remember what that was called data frame, and it's called case 0201 is what I'm going to do. And so now I'm going to hit run for this. We're going to see it pop up down here that I ran it. I don't have any red error messages. That's good. And then this is good. So I see data frame over here in my objects list. So now I know I have a data object called data frame. It has 178 observations of 2 variables. If I hit this arrow, it's going to tell me what the 2 columns in our data set are. So I have year and I have beak depth. Remember, they were measuring the depth of the beak before and after the drought in the Galapagos. So we have year and depth. You can also actually click this, and it's going to open the actual data set, and you can kind of look through it and see what's going on. So now this is great. So we really quickly got a data set that we can work with here. The next thing you're going to try to do is actually look at this data set. So there's a whole bunch of different ways to look at it. The important thing now is that you've named this data set something called data frame. We can name it whatever you want. You can name it, if you want, unicorn. Rerun this code. And what you're going to see is a new object over here called unicorn. It's the same thing, right? So now we have our 2 different things. So if you want to look at what unicorn is, you can just type that here and then run that data. Run that data, and now it's going to populate down here all the data that was in your object there. Some other interesting functions that I want you to work with just so that you can see what a function is. So the str function is kind of going to tell you the structure of your data. So if I run that one, it tells me, okay, this is a data frame. It has 178 observations of 2 variables. The 2 variables are year, which is an integer, and depth, which is numerical, right? So integer means it's discrete, right? It doesn't have a decimal. Numerical, it does have a decimal, right? So that's our continuous data. We can also use the function summary of unicorn, run that. And this is going to give you kind of descriptive statistics, right? So it's going to give you for each variable, the min, the first quartile, the median, the mean, the third quartile, and the max, which isn't very useful for the year stuff because there's only 2 years in the data set. But for the beak depth, this is kind of interesting. We can see the min and the max and kind of the range for this data. The other thing that I want to show you, and then you're going to get to work on this on your own, is using hashtags. So hashtags are definitely your friend in RStudio. So if I put a hashtag in front of something and then type, see how it turned it green? So now this is not being read as code anymore. It's basically allowing you to make annotations or notes on your code that's never going to be read as code. That just skips over this if it goes to do it. So if you have something that's green, so if you put a hashtag in front of it, you can write whatever you want. I write myself pep talks sometimes, which are like, you can do it, you are smart. And then when I read it a year later, I go, oh yeah, I am, good for me, like that's great. When I was writing my PhD, there was a lot of cursing in my hashes because I was angry at the code at all points, so you can do that as well. The even better way to deal with hashtags is that they can basically become titles, right? So if you put a hashtag and then at least 4 hashtags behind it, see how it now created kind of this grouping here that's called titles. So you can do that anywhere. So if you want to tell yourself, remember to load packages, and then I add some hashtags behind it. Now I've got 2 things where first I can go remember to load packages, and then I can skip down to titles down here. This is really helpful when you have code that's really long and you want to skip from, oh, first analysis was here, it was a t-test, so you make a title that's called t-test. Second analysis was an ANOVA, you can jump down to that and kind of keep it all contained. This is what I really love about R compared to Excel or another program, is that you have this record in the future of everything that you've done. And especially if you need to tweak your data, if you find that a data point was wrong or you want to exclude it, you have all of your code already set up in there and you just rerun it with new data behind it. It's so easy rather than having to remake a whole graph or something like that. Once you have the code in there, it's really, really nice to play with. But you're going to want to keep yourself organized because all of this is kind of what you're going to refer to in the future. So that's pretty much what I wanted you to get done today. If you go to that Google Doc, let me share that real quick. This is going to walk you through what I just explained. So now, if that was all kind of quick and you don't remember what I said, you're going to go through and do these steps in order. So make your Studio account, make sure you enroll in the workspace, get a project open, install the package, use the package, and then kind of work in that data frame thing. Use your first 2 functions, play around with hashtags, and that's kind of all you need to do today because I wanted to give you a chance to kind of get back in the mode, and I want to see if this RStudio thing is going to work out okay. So what I'm going to do is stay on the line and let you guys kind of work through this and pop back in if you have questions at any point. But if you just want to go off and work on your own, there's not even, I'm going to go in at the end of class today and peek into all of your different projects and see what you got. So leave me a note if you want to with a hashtag. I will see it later. I'll stay on the line and kind of let I answer some questions. Michelle, what's your question?
Where did you share that document with?
It is on our Moodle page at the very bottom.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, the Google Doc is on Moodle, so you should be able to link to it there. When you click that link, you should be taken to a place that you make an account for RStudioCloud, and then it takes you into the Biostats 2020 workspace, and then you're going to click on the first project. It kind of works you through that on the Google Doc. Did that answer your question, Anton? Okay, awesome. So more hands. I'm gonna, Raven's asking if this is lab 1. I think I'm gonna give you guys a little bit more to do for Friday that's more in depth than this. This is just getting your feet wet and kind of looking around and seeing if it makes sense. I need to come up, if this all works out okay and you can get into the project, which I think I called, what did I call it?
It's labs 4 and 5 for the project.
I called, this is assignment, it's called 1 starting work in RStudioCloud. That's what it looks like once you get into the workspace. That is just to kind of play around and look at it today, and then there'll be a different lab that's due this Friday. I wanted to make sure that you guys could all get in here and it works on your computers before I decided what the actual lab should be for this week. So I'll probably get that posted by Wednesday, I would say. There is code needed. You should go through that Google Doc. So there's a bunch of steps, like every numbered step kind of tells you you're gonna install Sleuth 3, require Sleuth 3, that's a function, and then do the structure and summary stuff. Those are both functions. They're just like data, like visualizing your data functions. Anton, did you have another question? Andre, you got a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, so what we're doing today is just to kind of get our feet wet. It's not getting graded. But so with that said, so all these labs, like 1, 2, you know, et cetera, are they due in, like, is this labs we're going to be doing in class, or is it something we start in class and then hand in the week after?
Well, they're going to be due the Friday of the week. So after this week, once we figure out that all the technology is going to work, I'll have the lab assignment for you on Monday class, and I'll go over what I want you to do. And then you'll have all Monday class and basically all Thursday class. Like, I'll be here to help you answer questions during Thursday class. And then Jermaine and I both have office hours on Wednesday. So that's also time that you can check in if you're stuck on certain things. And then they'll be due Friday. So you'll basically have the whole work week to get it done. For some of you, if you catch on to this quick, it might not take you the 2 class periods. I picture some of you struggling with it in the beginning, so I wanted to make sure you have plenty of time. And then my goal is that I'd be able to grade them quickly and get them back to you before you start the next labs, that you know what you're up against.
Also with that said, where was I going with this question? Oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, I'm still in break mode. I can't think of my question right now.
Okay, well, I'll be here to answer more questions. Erlette, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm on the R, and I installed it in Tools, the Sleuth 3, and then when I run it in require bracket Sleuth 3, it says it's not installed. So I don't know.
Interesting. And so you did the pull down menus, you went to Tools, Install Packages, and you typed in Sleuth 3 and hit install.
Install, yeah.
And it's saying it's not there.
Yep.
Interesting.
I found this out, like, I made a mistake. The S has to be capital for it to recognize that it's there.
Yeah, so it has to be very specific.
Thanks. I'll try that.
Yeah. Yeah, so spaces and capitalizations matter a lot. That's why when I'm doing my coding, I don't usually capitalize hardly anything, because I don't want to have to remember that it's capitalized in the function in the future. So like my data frame and my unicorn are all just lowercase. Then you don't have to keep track of that in the future. Eric, what's your question?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Not a question, just like a note for people. Ours is a really weird programming language. It actually depends on where your cursor's at. So if you're having some problems, like if you notice if you have like 3 lines of code, if you put your cursor behind one of them, it'll only run up to where your cursor is. So your issue might be if you have the cursor before require, that might be causing some issues. Just like add a new line and drop your cursor onto that. Ours kind of weird.
Yeah, so like each line, you can think of it, that's why in the beginning I usually go and hit run. So like basically you have your cursor on the line of code that you want to run and you hit run on the top there, and that kind of sends it down to your console there. Alexis, you have a question?
For some reason I opened up projects, right? But then it says that there's no projects available. Or is
So
that
you're
just me?
in Biostats 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the very top, you go to projects. There should be a project called One Starting Work in RStudioCloud because a whole bunch of people are into it.
I don't have that for some reason. Is it in your workspace?
I don't see you yet as a member. So I would maybe go out and click the link again so that you come in as a Biostats 2020 group. Do you see Biostats 2020 as your workspace?
I did. I just clicked the join button not too long ago because I was sitting there looking at it like an idiot. But I clicked it and then it joined me to it. It just said it's not giving me a project. So that's weird. Let me try it again.
Yeah, if you, or you can try to share your screen too so I can see.
Ah, there it is.
Okay, I didn't see you as a member, so now you must be in.
Now my computer's a dud, so it's gonna take a bit. Especially since I have so many things running at the same time.
What do you mean it looks a little different, Anton? Do you want to share your screen with me so I can see it? Did I set up that everybody can share?
When I started up mine also, it looked different, but that's because it was showing only 3 of the squares instead of the 4. So what I had to do, I just had to hit that little tab in the corner of the one that should be on the bottom, and then it like split it back up.
Yeah, or you have to open a script sometimes. So you go to new R script. I wasn't sure how that was going to show to you guys to make it the 4
That was it?
panels. Okay. This is good. It's almost like we're in a class. I just can't actually see your work.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I think that I went into like the right place. Like I clicked the One Starting Work in RStudioCloud project thing. And I did everything that you listed in the like to do with this, but what do I do now? Like is there like I don't know if this is a stupid question. Do I have to like save it, or like do I like what do I do now?
That is a good question. That's what I don't fully understand either. So you have to save your script, so I can kind of show you that. So if I'm in my RStudioCloud, so let me go back into my practice here, and I'll start sharing this with you. So you got something that looks like this, right? You guys can see this. You see how this is called untitled and it's red up here. You do want to save this code as something. So this could be day 1 or something like that, so that we have it here. And then I believe I'm going to be able to go in and peek at yours later and see this. That's what I wanted to check for today. I cannot look at your code while you're looking at your code, is what I understand about this. It'll kick you out. So if you feel like you got it all done and you understand what we're supposed to do for today, you're basically done, because I would then want to check in and see if I can see it the way I thought I should be able to see it in the future. What this does in the future is like you're going to want to have these different kind of script files up here saved with the different labs that you're doing in the future. And if that doesn't work, I'll have you email me these script files, but I think I'm going to be able to sneak in and look at them. And in the future, what I'm going to have you do is you actually, when you make a graph or something, you're going to copy and paste the graph out of RStudio and put it into a Word document where you can answer questions about it and stuff. So that will be in the future something that you hand in on Moodle. You don't hand in through RStudio. Just today is a little bit of a practice day, so there's not anything you have to hand in to me. If you feel like you got through this, if you did your new functions, you understand where kind of the data is going, you're pretty much done for today. And then that gives me some time to kind of check back in with the people who are struggling and kind of make a better plan for Thursday. So I think what I'm going to do is basically have a really abbreviated lab this week that I'll give you guys in class on Thursday, and it'll be due Friday, but it will just be kind of the nuts and bolts of making this work for the first time. But today, nothing's due. Andre, did you have a new question?
So when we use, so wait, you said we have to download R to our computer?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, you
Right.
would, because we're using this new program. We're working in the cloud this year.
Yeah.
If you, in the future, everything you're learning here is going to transfer to the downloaded version of it. But when we download, I can't see things, so we're not going to use that version this year. But It's not like we're using a dumbed down version by doing this cloud. It's the same exact thing. It just lives on the cloud. When I'm doing this like professionally, I use the downloaded version because you don't have to deal with internet issues. Like I did a whole bunch of analysis on a plane where I didn't have Wi-Fi because it's living on your computer. You don't need internet to do it. But for this time, you need your internet.
Okay. And also, so the Google Sheet, I didn't look at it yet. Is it basically going to give us like step by step on like getting the, okay, good. Cause I just don't
want
want
screenshots too, so that you can kind of see what you're supposed to be seeing.
Okay, cool. All right, perfect.
Michelle, you got a question too?
Can we do the first step of like requiring the data set?
Mm-hmm.
When we write require sleuth 3, do we have to click run?
Yeah, so for each one, so what you're doing is basically you're making your script in that upper left-hand corner one, but it doesn't automatically run it through R. You need to hit run, and then you're going to see it pop up in the left bottom thing.
And you should do that like one by one. Like you shouldn't do a bunch of steps and then click run.
You can once you get more advanced with it. People, have like big chunks of paragraph code that they run, and your graphs are going to be, when we get into graphing, that's going to be like a paragraph worth of code to get a pretty graph. But for now, just do it one at a time and then see it run underneath there. And play around with both using kind of this run up here. So you hit run and go, and then you can also highlight and hit Control Enter. That sends it. You can also just leave your cursor at the end of it and hit Control Enter, and that sends it into the kind of console here. All of those. I always defer to Control Enter because it makes a lot of sense to me, but I try to in the beginning remember to show you guys that you can hit just run up here, and that's what runs it down here.
Okay. And if you press enter without the control, it doesn't do it, right?
No, that's how you're going to make spaces and stuff in your thing here.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, download packages. So for in here, if you guys can see my screen, you're going to go to Tools, Install Packages, and then type in the package that you want here. So Sleuth 3, you need a capital S, and then hit install, and it should run a whole bunch of script in here in the background. And then you're going to use this require function. Anton?
So I just like kind of skimmed through the Google Doc and like did it on R. Like, is at the end, like, are we supposed to really like do anything to the data, or is it just like running a bunch of like codes for us and we just like look at it?
Just looking at it. That's
Okay.
basically what I'm having you do today.
Sure.
This is just getting a feel for, I can't get my Google Doc back. That you can kind of see where everything's going, and then you know how the hashtag thing works. You can run, those three things are, seeing your data frame, seeing that you have your data in there, using the structure one, understanding what that's doing, what that function does, and what the summary function does. But none of those are statistics. They're all just ways to kind of understand the data that you're working with.
And do we need to ever save, or does it automatically?
I think you should save it religiously. I don't know what this cloud version does. I think it probably does save it for you, but I would recommend titling it and saving it so that you know it's kind of there. You can play around with it. You can X out and get back in and see if it's still there now. That's the part that I'm not really, I haven't done it yet that way. Michelle?
When we put the data into like a data frame, like when we put the case or the case study that we want to work with, so you said that we can call it whatever we want. This is kind of just like a technical question, but should there be no spaces between the name? Okay.
Yeah, I would leave spaces out of everything. Like, can you still see my code window? Yeah, so like you don't want to have like, this is my data. That's going to be really confusing. I tend to use periods. Periods are fine in there. So you could do this and it counts, but keeping it as simple as possible is really good. This is like, the people who have like Excel, like Word Doc 1, Word Doc Final 2, like all of that. So I hate doing that. So I usually call mine like data 1, data 2, or something like that. Or when we're going to learn subset functions where you can basically say, oh, I only want the data from 1976 in here. And so I would call that like data 1976.
Okay.
Call it something like that. But yeah, no spaces, periods are fine, underscores are fine in your coding, but try to keep it as simple as possible when you're naming things.
Okay, thank you.
Anton, is that an old question? Okay. So if you're through that, you should go outside and sit in the sun and enjoy the day. That was all you needed to do for biostats today. If you're still working, I'm sticking around to answer questions just to kind of get you through it. What question is that? Tiffany, you got a question?
Yeah, so okay, so every time I put in require and then sleuth 3, nothing pops up in the bottom right hand side. It just says like R history, intro to R. Like I'm not seeing.
Yeah, so you can see here where it has so there's files, plots, packages, help viewer in that one. If you go, you have to actually click on packages and then look down and find your sleuth 3 package and click on that. That's how you're going to open up the kind of help for sleuth 3.
Okay.
And then you can go down, we did case 0201 and click on that, and that's what has the information about the data that's held in that one.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm kind of stuck on like the 7th step, like looking over your data using your first functions.
Mm-hmm.
I just am, it's probably just that I'm typing it wrong. When I type in data frame, it's just like error.
So did you store case, so like this was in that object primer that we watched the video, this little arrow
Yeah.
symbol here, that's storing it. So we probably don't want to call it unicorn. We'll call it data frame.
Okay.
Data
Okay.
frame, and then this is kind of saying store queso 201 in an object called data frame, and you've got to run that first, and you're going to see data frame pop up in the top right.
Okay.
With your object, and then you can work with it. Otherwise, it doesn't know what you're asking it to do.
Right.
You have to name it first.
Okay, so it did that.
And
then
so
I can,
now, yeah, now you should be able to use str of data frame and be able to get some information out of it. Michelle, another question?
Yes. When we're done with it all, I know you said we should like name the thing that says untitled.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same thing as going up to file and doing save as? Or is that?
Yes.
It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that yeah.
Or is that like all of them?
No, so that's the thing about R. It's only saving this window here, your script window. That's what it's asking you to save right now.
Well, what about your data frame and like practice next to them?
So data frame, no, it doesn't. It's not gonna. That's just like pulling up the thing that you loaded into your from that package. It's just showing you, so you can X that one out. I'm not gonna save this one. That's kind of the weird thing about R, is that every time you reopen this, it's not going to automatically open. If you start making graphs and stuff, you have to rerun the code to get your graphs back.
Okay.
There's kind of next level stuff that's the simple part that we're going to learn here. There are ways to start projects and things to kind of pull it together, but right now we're trying to do this at the most simple level, which is the only thing it's saving is this script editor window, which is why when you first start working on it, it seems annoying because you have to rerun everything, but it's actually amazing because how many times you've messed up data and then need to go change your data, and now you'll have the perfect graph code, and then you just go rerun the code for your graph and you'll have it all figured out, which will make more sense once you see that like the graph code can be like a paragraph long.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
Ew.
So the entire time we've been in class, right, my window's been open, and there's an angry cat that's just screaming outside. So all I can think about is the angry cat outside my window. So I made my first title, Angry Cat.
Yeah, I laugh now at like when I look at code from like years ago, like yeah, I'll be angry about something apparently, and it'll show up in my code like that I'm like screw you bird or something like that will be in a hashtag somewhere, and it makes me laugh now.
It's basically like a code diary.
Yeah.
When you
oh, sorry, Kira, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh no, Kim.
When you do the summary function, what's supposed to come up? Like, how do you know if that went right? Because nothing came up for me.
So you send that, it should look like in the bottom right, the left bottom thing should have something that comes up that says it's basically a min, median, mean, max for year and for depth should show up. What comes up in your...
I might have done that wrong. Nothing, like maybe I didn't press run. No, I pressed run.
So did an error come up in that bottom?
No, it's just a blank line with the blue arrow. Did I type it in wrong, maybe?
Yeah, I would check. Somebody have an answer for this? So it's not running something correctly. If you can figure out how to share your screen with me, I can look at it.
Let's
just,
see.
that's just in the.
Oh, I can't share while you're sharing.
Okay.
Oh,
Try
let's
now.
try it again. Share your screen. Is it sharing?
I don't see it yet.
Oh, there we go. I think now we're sharing.
Oh gosh, yeah, I see myself. I don't see your code.
There we go.
Okay. So you have your data frame. It's called data frame. You have run that str one for me so I can see it.
Do I have to delete this?
No, just put your cursor on the str one and hit run. So that one looks good, right? And then put your cursor. Yeah. Maybe you need to put the cursor at the end there and now hit run.
Oh, maybe I hit enter. Yeah, that's definitely what I did. Thank you. All right, I'll stop sharing. I think that's done sharing now.
I'm talking to myself because I thought I unmuted. Are we gonna go over this beginning part again, just a little bit next class?
Yeah, and I'll have like more. Now I can kind of see what I should have in the instructions thing. So it'll be more kind of in depth.
And where do I save this?
So you're just going to save it in your RStudio. So making sure your script file, so it doesn't have like a red untitled thing on the top of it. You're going to actually go like save as and name it something.
File save as. Cool.
Yeah, Sammy, that answers your question too that you were asking. Just save it in there. I think that's going to work and I'm going to be able to peek at everybody's, but if not, we'll have a new plan on Thursday about what we're going to do.
Okay, got it. I think I'm good. Thank you.
Good. I'll see you Thursday. Andre, you got a question?
Yes. So for number 5, it says tell R you want to use that package. Is that where you just click on packages and like this like little side? It's like a little bar, and then you hit a check mark in a box.
I want you to use this actual function that's called require. So it's right under it in the Google Doc, require parentheses /3.
That's see that. Yeah.
That you're going to type into your R script in the top left. And then run that. That's how you're going to be. So first thing you're going to do the pull down menu to install the package, and then you're going to put require /3 in your code and run that.
Oh, that's okay. Cause what I did is, here, maybe I can share my screen. This is so crazy. What I did is I went over to this over here, and then I hit packages, and then I just checked off, /3.
I mean, I think that does something. I like having the code up there because then in the future,
enter that as a code.
Yeah.
So when sorry, I have so many questions.
Basically, like the code is nice. Like you can do a few things in here with pull down menus and clicking on things, but you want to have this like record of what you did. So I like having require /3 written in there because then later on I'm going to be like, okay, here's what I did. First thing I required sleuth, then I did this. Yeah, so just do it like that and hit run.
Okay, so whenever you're telling R to do something, like if your directions in the Google Doc says tell R to do this, basically you're typing that in.
But so you haven't actually run it yet. You need to hit run on the top right there and see how then it's going to come down in the bottom corner. It says require /3 in your code. And that means it actually went through R basically.
Okay, gotcha.
And then this bottom left doesn't get saved. All you're saving is kind of your code behind it, which is why I want you to know how to do the like hashtag annotations and stuff, because you're going to save all of this.
Okay.
And you did, the way you found it over here was good on the bottom right. If you go back down to Sleuth 3, if you actually click on the blue Sleuth 3 in your packages thing here.
Wait, hold on. Are you trying to share something with me?
No, on yours.
Oh.
What you're showing right now, where you checked Sleuth 3 on the bottom right.
Yeah.
If you actually click on that blue Sleuth 3, click on that. This is now all the documentation for the data set. So if you scroll down, you can find the documentation for case 0201.
Case 0201?
Yeah, that's the Finch data. So if you click on that, it tells you all about the data that you're kind of pulling in now.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. That answers my question for now. I'm going to step 6, I think.
Okay. All right, I'll be here.
Thank you.
Patrick, did you have a question too?
Yeah, I'm just really lost.
Okay.
So,
Let me see. Yeah, which number are you at?
Here, let me just share my screen because mine looks a little bit different. I'm also like, there's just so many different tabs. It's so confusing. I do not work like this. Share. So I don't have like this bottom left thing that you guys keep talking about, and I don't have like a run function that's normally supposed to be up here. So
Oh yeah, so you want to do the file. So under file is that like green plus?
Oh, okay. Close.
Yeah, so you just want a new R script. So hit R script there, and now you've got your 4 things. So this top right here is your script window, and now the bottom right is kind of your coding, what's happening in R window. And so you're going to type things into this kind of thing called untitled right now, and then hit run and do it that way.
So wait, so what do I type in there exactly? Do I?
Well, you have to go through the Google Doc and do it step by step. So I don't, depending on what step you are on. So I don't.
Well, I typed in require sleuth, and then.
But did you install the package?
Yeah, it's installed it right here.
Okay. So now, but you want that require sleuth 3 to be in your script window in the top left. So you're going to type that in there.
All right. So I just type it in here.
Mm-hmm. And make sure sleuth has a capital S. Yeah, there you go. And so now you should be able to hit run. It's going to look the same as when you typed it in the bottom, but now you see it kind of show up in the bottom there. So now you've got your data in there. You're good. And so now you can go through, you're going to name a data frame and save case 0201 into a data frame. So that's kind of the next step on the Google Doc.
All right. So I would like rename untitled 1 to whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Who else has questions? Raven, do you have a question?
Yeah, so when I saved my project, like and I go back to it, I can't see like what I wrote in the first box.
It's not there. Do you need to open it maybe?
Yeah, I tried opening it because I saved it, but it doesn't show anything.
Interesting.
But like on the third box where it's supposed to show everything, like where it's supposed to show everything, all my stuff is there. It's just that whatever I've written is not there.
Can you try sharing your screen with me so I can see it?
Sure. Is this share screen button, right?
Yeah, it's like a green button.
Okay.
Okay, so the old stuff is there. And if you go to that like open folder thing on the top right there.
This one?
Yeah. If you open practice.r, is it just empty?
Yeah, it's just empty. The only thing that saved was this part right here.
Huh. But I can see you did everything. Somehow your code didn't save. Interesting. Were you writing it up in here, like you could see it in that top left window?
Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was writing it here. And then when I saved it, and then I wanted to make sure if it's actually saved, I go back to it and it's empty.
Interesting. It's not good. I mean, it doesn't really matter for today because there's not like anything you had to hand in, but I don't know why that would happen. I mean, I'll remember that I can see that you did it all, so it doesn't, like, I'm not really worried about it, but I'll have to see if everyone else is saved correctly and give some, maybe I'll do some screenshots next time to make sure I'm explaining how to save it correctly, because it does look like it lost all of your code. So if you want to put it in while it's fresh in your head and try to save it again, that's fine, or don't worry about it today. I would, in that practice.r thing, write a note to me that's like, hey, I tried this and it lost it. So just in that script file, you could just type like, didn't save correctly or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So Sammy, you're having trouble saving. Can you share your screen with me so I can see it? So you also didn't have a script window open on here. That's why you can't save. So you're going to hit this little green plus under file there. Yep. And new R script. So now you have your 4 panels like we talked about, right? So you did this all, but it was you were doing it in the code window, and I wanted you to do it in this kind of script window up here. So this is something you can save. See how there's like the little save icon and stuff there. So at least try to write a few things in there just so that I know you tried it here and save that instead. I can see that you knew how to run all this stuff, but you can't save anything in that bottom right, bottom left window. You can only save things in this script window up here. Yeah, perfect. Now you'll be able to save that. You can stop sharing if you want, so we don't have to. Alex, do you want to share your screen so I can see it? You're muted right now. Good, that looks good.
It looks good.
Yeah, so you still got to do your str and your summary function. That was, I forget what number in the Google Doc that is, but it looks like you have your data frame saved in there and it's got the right thing. Yeah, looks good.
Oh, summary, wait.
Yeah.
Okay, so str, I put that down.
Mm-hmm.
And the data frame is just like whatever name you want it to be?
Yeah, you named yours data frame.
Okay, so let's see.
And then hit run on that one. Good. So it shows that you've got your 2 variables, year and depth. One's an integer and one's numeric. So that's good. And then the other one you're going to do is summary parentheses data frame. Cool.
Okay.
And that's your mins, your max, and everything. So yeah, that means you had your data in the right spot. So that's good.
Okay, cool. Okay, how do I? Okay, stop sharing. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like you had the script saved too. That's good. Patrick, I know you've been waiting. What's your question?
Yeah, no, I think I'm starting to get it. It's just like I typed in data case or data frame, then the arrow in case whatever I chose, and then I don't really know if anything's supposed to happen. Or is it just?
You should hit run, and then it should pop up in the top right corner that you have an object now named data frame.
Okay, 20 observations of 3 variables.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then I did the str data frame.
Mm-hmm. And the summary data frame.
I've never done coding at all in my life, so this
I
is
know.
all new to me.
it's the first day is the worst, and then it starts making sense. I couldn't figure out how. There's no way to make it not painful in the beginning.
Okay, and then we do summary data frame and.
Yeah. I think so, Erlet. So saving your code, so saving your script window is what you're trying to do. A couple people shared their screens and we can see that. I think I'm going to be able to see that on my end, but I won't. It's not going to be counted against you if I can't see it. I want to make sure we're all on the same page. But if you got everything to work and you don't have like a red untitled script in the top, you should be good to go for today. Andre, you got a question?
For number 7, when it's telling you, like you just went over this with Alexis, like when you're doing, it says like make sure your data, or like when you type in like data frame, and then str data frame in parentheses, what are you, like you're typing in data frame, I'm guessing, but I don't.
Data frame, when you put data frame in, it's just going to, I can share my screen again.
Hold on, I'll go to okay. I'll let you share. Because I'm like a deer in headlights right now. Like why, like, so you type in data frame, how'd you get that arrow case? Like how was I supposed to know to put like case 0201? Like this is like.
Well, so I'm kind of making you do a specific thing. So we pulled in this package called Sleuth3, right? And that holds all these data sets basically. And so I wanted you to bring case 0201, which is the Finch data, into an object that you can name data frame. So anytime you're trying to store something as an object, you use, this is the less than symbol and a dash. It looks like a little arrow. That's kind of how I remember it. Like it means put case 0201 into something called data frame. And so if from the beginning, this should have looked like, this should have been blank up here. It says this environment is empty on the top right. And once I do kind of this code here and hit run, I see it pop up down here that I ran that code, and then I have something over here called data frame. This is the thing that I can name whatever I want. Name this whatever, as long as it's an object. If I run that, now I have an object called name this whatever.
So like, do you physically type like that arrow and then case 0201? Okay, because I'm like.
Technically, you could copy and paste it out of the Google Doc and put it in that way if you didn't want to type it.
Okay.
In the future, you're going to want to be able to type yourself because you're going to be manipulating data and wanting to save things as objects. So you need to know where that less than and dash sign are, but you can also copy and paste in.
So, do you mind if I show you my screen just to,
yeah. Hold on, let me stop.
Just so I'm like, yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
I think this is it. Yeah. So like, so when I typed in data frame, it like automatically pulls up data frame with like a period. Is that not what I'm doing?
No, because that's a function that you don't want to do. So you don't have anything saved as your data frame. Yeah, so do that. And hit run of that one.
I think that's run, yeah.
Yep. And so now you should see, yeah, up there, there's a something called data frame. That's 178 observations of 2 variables. And in your bottom left corner, it kind of ran the code for you down there. So now you have this object called data frame that you can manipulate. So that's where you can do the str function on it. You can do the summary function on it, because you're basically saying, think of that like data frame or that object. It's like an Excel tab, right? It has all this data in it, in columns and rows and stuff. And so the thing that I had you write out just data frame instead of writing a function. So if you just write data frame in there on line 3 there.
Okay.
And run that.
Just run it.
Yep. It's just what it did in your bottom left there is it's just showing you the data that you had in that data frame.
So I kind of get it. But like the only reason I get it is because you typed in data frame for case 0201, and then once you typed in data frame again. So like let's say I put a random name, whatever I want to name this, and then case 0201, I could type in the bottom whatever I want to name this, and it's going to do the same thing.
As long as in the top right it is named that and it's considered an object.
Yeah.
The top right is showing you all your objects that you have in play, and then it can remember all of them.
So then when I do the str, and then in parentheses, I type in data frame. Okay, and then I just have to do that for the other one too, and then leave a note for myself. So when I leave a note for myself, it's just a hashtag, and then I can type in anything.
And it should turn green, which means it's different code.
Which it did when I had tried it before. I erased it, but
And if you look more carefully, like that require is blue. I think once you fill in data frame to structure, that's going to turn blue as well.
Oh wait, do I have to run it? You have to run it every time you.
Yeah.
No, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then do you put like you can put spaces between stuff when you're putting notes?
Yeah, that once you put that hashtag in front of it, R isn't reading anything in there. It's like hiding it from so you can write whole sentences and paragraphs and stuff if you want.
And saving this, it goes right to the cloud automatically.
Yes.
All right. I'll just have to rename it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it give you an option to rename the document when it?
I think when you hit that little save icon, it
Okay.
asks you to name it.
All right, then I'll save. All right, just need to clarify. Perfect. Thank you.
Dr. Jackson, can I share my screen just to be safe?
Yeah, let me see it.
Where is it?
Can I also do that when she's done? Cool.
Okay, so this is how mine's look. It was red at first, but I got it.
Yeah, that looks really good. I like your notes. Try at the end of that. So it's good that you have that hashtag and it turned green, but at the end of that line, put 4 more hashtags and you're going to see it pop up. So at the end of get back on track, do hashtag, 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 and see how it filled in kind of in between the 2 windows. You can now kind of jump to that when you want to. Can you see that? Yeah, there. Yeah. So if you had like a whole bunch of code, you can jump between it using that like kind of that arrow now. But that looks good. And just make sure you save it before you quit, and we'll see if I can find it later, but no worries for this time.
Yeah.
Who wants to name this thing?
Good.
Thank you.
I don't care what you name it for today.
I'll just say practice run.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Arlette. Pat, you want to share yours too?
I'm good. All right. I'll see you in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, let me get my screen up.
Yeah, that looks good. You chose a different case, but that looks, yeah, you've got it all.
Yeah, I saw like bats, and I was like, I like bats.
That's cool too, because if you look at in the data frame in the top right, that one has a factor, which is basically a
oh wait, over here.
Yeah, so you can see that type is basically, it's not a numerical variable, it's a factor. And you can kind of see that we'll work with more like that in the future, different data sets, but that looks good. So now just make sure you save that before you close it, and I hope I'll be able to see it, but if not, we'll deal with that on Thursday.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you can close it now, Alex.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to. Oh, I'm just
No,
trying
no. Alex put that in the chat. Today's just training wheels day, so if it doesn't work, we'll figure out a new way to do this on Thursday. But I like this. Everyone being able to share their screen makes it a lot better for me. All right, bye. See you in a bit, Patrick. Jermaine, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Have you been able to get in and play around in the cloud yet?
Yeah, it's been working all right for me. I was just wondering, when I saved the thing, hit save as, and I go to Biostats 2020, it says that there's 2 projects. One is the first one that you made, with your name on it, and then there's another one with my name on it, and it's like derived from yours.
Mm-hmm. I think that's so. In theory, in the future, the way this is supposed to work is like I can give code to everybody in that project. When it starts a project, it'll open with code already in it. And then you have this like second version that you save with more code in it. So I think that's right, that you should be able to see like the original that I posted and then your new version of it.
Okay.
But I didn't really put any code in it this time.
Right.
I wanted to see how this works. Because I also like don't want to make it, I want to make it as similar to what we did last year as possible, like not giving too much code in advance where people actually have to type it in themselves.
Mm-hmm. So from your end, will you be able to see all of the projects that are derived from yours?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I was just wondering about that. All right.
Because everybody who enrolled is enrolled as a contributor right now. I think I should be able to change you to a TA so that you can see everybody's projects, but I need to see what it looks like on my end first.
Okay, no problem. Also, would it work better if I had office hours on 2 days, like Wednesday and Thursday, or should it just be on Wednesday?
I feel like it'd be better if you could have them on 2 days that weren't Monday. I just don't think anybody's going to come on Monday before class if I don't have the lab already. I'm going to introduce the lab on Monday, so I don't know. I don't think anybody would come before class.
Right. Yeah, I could do Wednesday and Thursday then.
Okay, what time works?
12 to 1.
Okay.
Wait, Thursday.
Well, no, we have this class, yeah.
Yeah. So before class or after class?
After class might be good because I have to go teach ornithology after, so I have to get off at 2:10. So if you wanted to do like 2 to 3 on Thursday, you could stay on the line and help people.
I could do that, but do you not have like a lot of overlap on Zoom between these 2 classes?
You'd probably have to restart in your own office hours. No, there's like 6 maybe that go to the next class with me, so it's not, there's enough people that it could be worthwhile.
Okay. All right, yeah, so I can do Wednesday 12 to 1 and then Thursday right after class?
2 to 3, yeah. That
sounds
works. Good. Yeah. And yeah, you'll switch to your own like Zoom thing at 2.
Right.
But people can check in and ask you questions.
All right, sounds great.
Cool, thank you.
No problem.
All right,
See ya.
bye.